In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with West Paschal, and he's hailing over as the Chief Revenue Officer or CRO over at Alpine IQ. And today we want to really deep dive what Alpine IQ is all about, how they're, basically growing up in the cannabis industry, and just learning how he's thinking about growth for the organization. So, West, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. So, for the people who haven't heard about Alpine IQ yet, what is it all about in your own words?
I would say that we're all about helping retailers build a better mousetrap. That's our goal, and what I mean by that is really trying to create a unique digital experience for their customers. And we started off focusing that energy entirely on the world of cannabis because we believe in kind of the small box. Now you see a couple large box environments, but we believe in that specialized retail for cannabis because of the massive educational gap between regular consumers and consumers who are brand new to the product. So started in cannabis retail, but really what we're about is allowing retailers to understand their customer and then use that data to create a true connection with them, and speak to them about the things that they're passionate about, the things that they're curious about.
Mm-hmm. So that means clients of yours would be individual retail shops. Would that be chains? Is it, what's a typical sweet spot client for Alpine IQ?
Yeah, so today we're supporting everything from mom and pop operations to regional operators, all the way up to 150 plus store chains. So we do have a product that works for retailers of all sizes, small and large. And obviously, a few of those tools are really uniquely geared at supporting those really large multi-state operators because they require some unique tools that single store operators might not, and vice versa. So we do a lot of work on trying to tweak our product to make sure it fits for everyone. And we're really, again, just trying to create that connection between retailers and their end customer.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. And who within those organizations would you say is it sort of, holding up the flag high? Is it the actual store owner? Is it, somebody that is
Yeah,
more sort of on
so
the recreational side?
yeah, absolutely. Cannabis is unique. There's a ton of mom and pop operators, and in those cases, yeah, we're usually talking to individual owners, and that includes those small operators all the way up to large. We also do have a new side of the business that's focused on brands, and same deal there. We're working with small local brand operators who maybe service only 4 to 8 stores in their area, all the way up to some of the largest brands in the country today are working with us.
Mm-hmm. And how do they learn about Alpine IQ? Like, what's their journey looking like? Or in other words, what are sort of the client acquisition channels you guys leverage for them to get started?
So there's quite a bit. When you look at the marketing ecosystem, once you actually understand who your customer is using segmentation tools, we then allow them to use a number of marketing channels because consumers prefer to be spoken to in different ways. So we have text messaging, which SMS, MMS messaging. We have email. We have direct mail now in the US. And I mean, you can do it in Canada. It's a bit more expensive there. And the ability to do browser push notifications and native push notifications with a native app. So a lot of tools under one single license that you get to be able to speak to customers as individuals. And then using segmentation, you get to customize that messaging so it gives them exactly what they're looking for. And an example I always give is like, if you've never purchased smokable flower as a cannabis consumer, you shouldn't be receiving direct mail or emails or text messages that are pummeling you with concentrates and flower messages. If you're an edible buyer or maybe you use tinctures or topicals, those are the products and messages that you should receive information about. It should make you feel like you want the brand that you choose as yours really understands you.
Makes sense. Now, as a CRO, you're obviously having a look on, will have a look, overlook on the channels and who's bringing in and what channels are bringing in customers. What's the channel that you're excited about? As a growth leader, maybe something that you've learned about a channel that makes you, rethink a channel. Maybe, just curious, what you've learned on that journey.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our initial days were cold outreach, picking up the phone and calling retailers, which helps, right? And you have to be ready for the reward that comes from working really hard at doing that cold outreach, which is having hot inbounds that come your way. So I would say we prepared ourselves by trying to have a really user-friendly website to take hot inbounds. We, get out and try to spread the word about who we are and what we do everywhere we can. LinkedIn is a big cannabis, I would say, place to get the word out about your business. And being a cannabis business, you're constantly censored across Instagram, social media of all kinds. And LinkedIn's really one of the only exceptions to that, where they allow you to speak about cannabis related businesses really pretty freely. So cold outreach comes first when you're looking to grow. It should be a muscle that is never left, untempered. But you also need to be prepared when that happens, when you start to have a name for yourself in your market, that you're going to have people come to you, and you need to be ready to put them to the right folks in your business as efficiently as possible.
That makes sense. Is there something that you've learned about cold outreach? I mean, obviously there's a lot of do's and don'ts, and there is a lot of, a lot of people even post, messages that salespeople send out in order to kind of like, make, put a little bit of, fun on the messages that they're writing. Is there something that you've learned that's actually effective, like an approach, a way of thinking about outbound?
The more personal that you can get, the better. You have to let people feel like you understand the world that they live in. And that includes local events happening in the area, especially if there are massive, kind of environmental catastrophe in the area. If there's massive events going on, you might think of like a festival like Stampede in Calgary. And, speaking to customers around that time, you should be able to mention those things. But organization, I think, is so important. Because if you have significant volume, you're going to have a lot of notes, and making sure that you can keep track of that. And, somebody might say, hey, we're really swamped right now preparing for Stampede, but we might be ready to talk in 2 months. And then if you let that go and that salesperson doesn't check back in halfway through that 2-month period, and then right as you're approaching it, you can lose that deal. And so when you think about cold outreach and how to get it to snowball and get to that point where you're able to get hot inbounds because of the name that you've made for yourself, if you're not on top of that organization and not managing that pipeline effectively, there's no way you'll be successful long term.
Yep, no, that makes a whole lot of sense. What role does the website then play for you in your mind for outbound? Like, how do you, because very often it's a very inbound focused tool. Like, what role do you think it plays in outbound?
I mean, you'd like to think that a really good website will ultimately find its way around. It's like I think about content creation and blogging, and the ability to have a website that's really unique and user friendly. If somebody in the sales process is able to take our website and pass it to key players, and they can use that website to then understand who we are without the need for a pitch or a deck, that's a good website in my mind. And then using your web presence to make yourself a voice in whatever market that you're in. So I think it's important for businesses to have a voice and push content out about the things that their solution is doing to help others, and just things that are going on in the industry. I know we try to use our website and LinkedIn as the megaphones for us.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, we spoke a lot about the company. We spoke about what you guys are doing. We spoke about the growth channels. I would love to switch gears a little bit and learn a little bit about yourself. I have some rapid fire questions to deep dive into your journey a little bit. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one would be, could you give me a quick insight? What's the last book that you read, or the last podcast that you listened to?
Last podcast I listened to would be All In. It's a kind of a business focused podcast that's on Spotify, a few others. Man, I'm totally blanking on the last book that I read. I just started reading Life of Pi, which I'm excited to get through. But Who Moved My Cheese is a business one that's pretty great. And then I just finished up Shoe Dog as well within the last few months, which is another great sales focused book about the story of Nike.
Very cool. What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I would say we're looking at how we can use the solution that we created for cannabis and how we can impact the rest of the world beyond North American cannabis and cannabis as a whole. So, we've done a really great job creating a footprint in the US and Canada. We've got Germany, we've got Mexico, Thailand, all kind of pushing legalization efforts respectively. And so I think we've got an eye on those markets. And then we're looking at how we can use this tool to benefit other industries. Specialized retail is not unique to just cannabis. There's beverage alcohol, there's on-premise consumption, which is another piece of beverage alcohol. And then, there's a lot of other highly regulated retail out there that can use our tool to better identify their customers, understand them, and then speak to them the best way possible, a way that's going to make them feel understood. So that's our goal. I think we're turning our attention. We're pouring a lot of money into hiring additional folks to help us launch these teams over the next few months, and excited to see how the tool that we feel like has done a really great job in cannabis can be used for the rest of the world.
Very cool. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role in revenue today? What's the one single thing that you would fix?
Oh man, so if there's no hindrance to technology, there's a lot there. I think a huge part of growth is the hindrance of technology. It's the ability to integrate with point of sales, to integrate with e-commerce providers. So, I think if you eliminate that by itself, there's not a lot standing in our way. And one of the things that makes us really unique, I think, from other software companies is that we're kind of a build first organization. I really believe that our success as a business has come not just from having a really great sales team, but having an incredible customer success team whose job is just to have really, really big ears all the time. And taking that information, getting it into the hands of an engineer, a builder, so that they can then create the tools that our customers are begging us for. Because if we don't build it, we don't necessarily believe that someone else is going to be out there to do so. So if it's in our wheelhouse and we have the ability to, we're going to listen to our customers and we're going to continue to innovate. And that doesn't mean every time we complete a feature request, we turn around and ask for more money. It means, hey, we really structure these agreements and our pricing model to align our incentives as businesses and as partners. And so if we can help them be successful, it makes us more successful. That in turn creates an environment where we put their needs first, and building is usually what that means, right? Is actually continuing to innovate, continuing to add or tweak the platform. And that's one of the things that I think that has been so key for success.
For the very last question, right? I would like to do a bit of time travel. Let's go back to Texas A&M, right? You're getting back to the formal world of education. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Oh man. At that point, chasing your dream was really, I was trying to pick the job that I kind of struck on my prime motivator, which is connecting with people and helping others connect with each other. And so at the time, I was just looking for whatever job I could get that would let me do that. But it helps a lot more when you feel like what you're doing is actually helping the world, which, right out of school would not say that I had that. So I think just kind of giving myself that nudge, maybe I would have jumped into cannabis earlier. Who knows?
West, well, we appreciate that you joined us for the Paschal Presents podcast today. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Alpine IQ today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Probably that last part, that we're a really hungry software company that is looking to change the world, and that comes from listening to people who have problems. So I would say if you're a retailer or a brand operator today in highly regulated industries, reach out to us. We're happy to listen to what the issues are and see if we can build a shovel to help you get out of that hole.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Paschal Presents.